Welcome back, fellow artists. I see you've come here to learn the female proportions and the difference between the male and female proportions. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to teach in today's tutorial. So get your sketchbook, your pencils, and get ready to draw. Quick disclaimer before we get started. In this tutorial, I'll say that you have to make markings a sixth or a third above or below a line. This does not mean you have to get your ruler and calculator and calculate a sixth or third of a line and start doing complex math equations to get the exact point. Just keep it simple and make a rough estimate marking. After all, we don't want to turn this tutorial into a math lesson. With that cat out of the bag, let's get started. This character will be 8 heads high and 2 heads wide. You can pause the video and draw these lines out. And don't forget to mark your heads. The first marking will be on the 7th line, which will be the female's chin. The next marking will be a sixth below the 6th line, which will be the nipples, and a third below the 6th line will be the bottom of the chest. The next marking will be a sixth above the 5th line, and this will be the hip, and on the 5th line will be the navel. The next marking will be a third below the 4th line, and this will be the crotch. The second last marking is on the 2nd line, which will be the bottom of the knees, and the last marking will be a third above the last line, and this will be the ankles. Start by drawing the head, which will occupy the whole gap between the 8th and 7th line. Next, you can add a line across the second marking, which will be the top of the shoulders, and then you can add the neck. Once you have done this, you can draw a line on the marking for the bottom of the chest and connect this to the top line to complete the Next, add a line on the marking for the hip and connect this to the bottom of the chest to form the abdomen. Then add a line on the marking for the crotch and join this to the hip to complete the waist. One thing to note is that the waist of a female is wider than the rib cage. The female torso shape is most relatable to the shape of an hourglass. However, this is not always the case, as everyone is different. Now we can start drawing the legs. Start by extending 2 lines down, a third above the 2nd line, which will be the thighs of the female character, and add 2 circles, which will be the knees. To complete the legs, draw the calves, which will be a stretched out diamond, and add the feet. Moving to the arms, draw in 2 semicircles, which will be the shoulders. Then these should come down to the 6th line. Then add a marking for the elbows, which will be in line with the hip, a marking for the wrist, which will be on the 4th line, and a marking for the end of the hand, which will be a third below the crotch. Once you have done this, you can add simple shapes for the arm, forearm, and hand to complete the whole arm. Those are the female proportions from a front view. Now I want to show you the female proportions from a side view. First, start by adding the same markings which we did for the front view. A marking for the head, top of the shoulders, bottom of the chest, hip, crotch, bottom of the knees, and ankle. Start by drawing in the head. Next, add the line for the top of the shoulders and connect the neck. After this, you can draw a line on the marking for the bottom of the chest and complete the chest. Now we can add a line for the hip and crotch. Then connect the hip to the bottom of the chest to make the abdomen and connect the hip to the crotch to make the Next, we can draw in the thighs and add in the knees. Then complete the legs by adding the calves. To complete the side view, you can add in the arm with appropriate markings for the elbow at the level of the hip and the marking for the wrist on the 4th line. And then join these together with simple shape. Bonus, the male and female torsos are not a perfectly straight line. The ribcage and the waist are usually angled like this, forming a more curved shape. Although for this tutorial I kept the torso straight to keep the focus on the proportions, although I'll explain these in another tutorial. And a bonus, not all females have an hourglass shape, as I have shown. Everyone is different. and the wide thighs, narrow hips and other female features are not that prominent at a young age, which is something you need to be aware of, otherwise you'll end up drawing a 10-year-old girl who looks like a very short 20-year-old girl, which is not what you want. Before I end the video, I want to show you the main differences between the male and female proportions. The first main difference is that the female figure is narrower than the male. The male is 2 1/3 heads wide, while the female, at the widest point, is almost 2 heads wide. The next main difference is that the female's chest is lower than the male's. Also, the female's waist is much bigger, with the hips starting above the 5th line and the crotch ending below the 4th line. The last difference is that for the female, the elbows are in line with the hip marking, instead of in line with the navel, like in the male figure. These differences may not seem that important, but is what distinguishes a male from a female when they are in the same scene. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button and leave a like. Otherwise my personal bodyguard over here will track you down and send a truckload of banana brownies to your house. Yes, banana brownies. If you want to check out my tutorial on the male proportions, check out this video here. See you there.